Hey nerds, Alex here from Nerds Being Geeks, and welcome to my Phantasmal Flames Gym Leader Challenge set review. For most of the sets that come out in Pokemon, I try and do a review through the eyes of a Gym Leader Challenge player. I try not to waste too much time on cards that might not have an impact on the format, but I like to look at cards that are interesting or fit into an archetype pretty well. So Phantasmal Flames comes out November 14th, 2025. And we're going to start off with the grass Pokemon from this set. We're looking at Vileplume, 150 HP, and we're looking at the Lively Flower attack. 60 damage for 1 grass energy. If this Pokemon was healed during this turn, this attack does 120 more. So you are looking at a possible 180 damage for 1 energy. And all you have to do is heal your Vileplume. There is a card in this set that could work pretty well with this Vileplume, but it's going to be pretty difficult to fit this in when there's already a Vileplume that locks items from being played. I would say that Vileplume is more popular, and I don't see this one replacing that, but you should always consider 180 damage for 1 energy an option. Next up, we have Genesect with a really low 120 HP. For all the talk of big basics being in GLC, I would have expected this to have a little bit higher HP. But it has the Bug Cannon, and this one's for you grass spread decks. For 1 grass energy, choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 20 damage to it for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. It is just, I would say, a worse version of Raging Bolt that does 30 damage for each energy attached to it. Even with cards like Meganium in play, you would still need to put a lot of energy on this Pokemon to do any significant real damage. I only put it in here because I don't know much about grass spread, but I know it is an archetype that has tried to get off the ground. This is just one more card that you could fit into the grass spread deck. Moving on to fire with this Reshiram, 130 HP. And we're looking at the Burning Flare attack. 4 fire energies. It does 240 damage, but this Pokemon does 60 damage to itself. Now you can always negate the damage to yourself with cards like Protective Cube, but if you're going to attach a tool to this Reshiram, I would think it would be to give it more HP, because 130 is pretty low at this point. 130 has been surpassed. It is no longer almost the magic number. It is almost the baseline. Like, you have to hit 130 minimum, basically. But you cannot ignore 240 damage for a basic fire type when fire is currently at the bottom of the tier list. Fire has all of these amazing support cards. The support in fire is so good, in fact, that other types in the GLC format play the supporters that have to do with fire energy. They just cannot get their Pokemon together. Fire really needs that big basic. It needs its Ogie Dogie, and it just hasn't found it yet. 4 energies is a lot, and the Charizard with the Burn Brightly ability that doubles the fire energy in play has really fallen off. I don't know if this will see much play, but it's definitely worth a consideration, where it can hit 240 damage. We have this Darmanitan with 150 HP, with the Blazing Ball attack, 40 damage. This attack does 40 more damage for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon, and it's 4 energy cost. I don't see this seeing too much play, but I'm digging at the bottom of the barrel with fire here, just trying to find something to make fire work. I mean, 4 energies and you're only doing 160 damage. That's not great. But maybe these fire Pokemon are maybe worth talking about more. With Charcadet 70 HP, so it's Buddy Poffin searchable, and it has Gather Power. Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And this leads right into Ceruledge with 140 HP with the Purgatory Slash for 1 fire energy, 220 damage, but you have to discard 4 basic fire energy from your hand to use this attack. If you do not have 4 basic fire energy in hand to discard, this attack does nothing. So you're halfway there with this Charcadet Gather Power attack. There's other ways to search out 2 energy cards, but to discard 4 energy to do 220, it might be overkill. Fire is known to discard any and all types of energy. Maybe that's its downfall, but it's always worth looking at for an attack that does so much damage. Moving on to water. The Suicune 130 HP for 2 water energy. Crystal Force 30 damage. If you have 3 or more water energy in play, this attack does 90 more damage. Water is known for accelerating a ton of energy onto the board, so this could be an easy way to do 120 damage quickly. Do I think it'll see a ton of play? Probably not. Thought it was worth a mention. We also have this Mamoswine with a massive 180 HP. We have the Wreck attack, 3 colorless energy. If there's a stadium in play, this attack does 120 more damage, and then discard that stadium. So for 3 energy, you could be doing 240 damage, but you have to discard the stadium. And then for a water and 3 colorless, you have Blizzard's Edge, which does 200 damage, and then discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Those are some really big numbers to hit, and the only issue is that it is a stage 2, and in the current format of GLC, big basics reign supreme. But I could totally see this card see some play at some point. Moving on to fighting type, we have this Flygon 150 HP, and it has the Flapping Sand ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, or when this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from attacks of your opponent's Pokemon, you may discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. And also for 2 fighting energy, does 130 damage with the Cutting Wind attack. So this Flygon would fit really well into a fighting mill deck. And fighting has actually quite a bit of milling cards. I'm not going to go through every single one, but all of the cards currently on the screen mill your opponent's deck one way or another, and this Flygon could fit perfectly into that archetype. Next up, we're looking at Psychic. We have this Zacian, 130 HP basic, limit break attack, colorless, psychic energy, 50 damage. If your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining, this attack does 90 more damage. So halfway through the game, for 2 energy, this card can do 140 damage, which is really good actually. You throw Dimension Valley into play, that's 1 energy for 140 damage. And you throw a Muscle Band on there, you're jumping that 140 to 160. Now Psychic also has a card like Mewtwo that For 3 energy, if your opponent has taken 3 or more prize cards, that attack does like 180 damage. So both of those cards could be good attackers in the second half of the match. Definitely worth looking into. So next up we have colorless with this Ampipom, the 110 HP. We're going to look at the dual tail attack. 3 colorless energy. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 60 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. This is a perfect fit into colorless spread archetype. Looking at cards like the Spinda with 90 HP and has the Dizzying Spin. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. The Spinda alone, when it first came out, I believe it was Silver Tempest. I played this card at the pre-release and I went 3-0. This card was nuts. And then you also have cards like the Iron Jugulis, 130 HP basic. And this attack does 50 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon that have any damage counters on them. So you spread with Ambipom, you spread with Spinda, Iron Jugulis comes in. Once again, I don't know a ton about this archetype, but think it could be a good addition to the colorless spread typing. Moving on to Dark, we have this Sableye, 80 HP, Angry Claw, does 20 damage. If you have a stage 2 Dark Pokemon in play, this attack does 70 more damage. I don't know how often we will have a stage 2 Dark Pokemon in play, but it's worth considering if you are playing one to have this Sableye in the deck. For 1 energy, you can be doing 90 damage. We also have this Honchkrow, 130 HP with the Snipe Feather, 2 dark, 1 colorless, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 120 damage to 1 of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness resistance to benched Pokemon. And this next entry is probably the talking point of the whole set for GLC. And it is this Toxtricity. Let's start with the Toxel. 70 HP and has the Call for Family attack for 1 darkness. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Always a good attack for a basic. And then we look at the Toxtricity, 140 HP. Not really gonna be played for its attack, but for its ability. Bad upper. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for 1 basic dark energy. Attach it to 1 of your benched dark Pokemon. If you do, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. A great way to accelerate dark energy from your deck and not just your discard pile. So you could really accelerate quite a bit of energy during your turn. Do I think this is going to change Dark? Is it going to jump a tier like the Rocks did for fighting? No, I don't think so. But Darkness needs something, and this has been the best thing it's had in a long time. We also have this Crocodile with 170 HP with a Revenge Fang, 60 damage. If one of your Pokemon was knocked out by damage from an attack last turn, this attack does 160 more damage. That is a total of 220 damage on a revenge attacker. Once again, hitting over 200 damage in this set is crazy. The problem is it's a revenge attacker on a stage 2. Revenge attackers are pretty popular, but they are on basic Pokemon. We also have Weavile, 90 HP, Claws of Retribution, 20 damage for 2 dark energy. If this Pokemon has 50 HP or less, this attack does 170 more damage. So that's 190 for 2 dark energy. And if we go back to the Toxtricity, it puts damage counters on Pokemon that it accelerates energy to. So you could power this thing up with the Toxtricity, not only with energy, but with the damage that it needs done to it. But it's almost like, what's your follow-up move if you use Weavile? I mean, you're going to be 50 HP or less. very easy to knock out. Was it worth doing? I'm not really sure. Am I going to replace it with the Weavile that I currently play in my dark deck that does 50 damage for each ability that your opponent has in play? No, I think that Weavile is just way too good, and I'm probably going to keep playing it. But this one is a very interesting one to pick from. Next up, we have Metal. I have this Duraludon. I don't think it's great, but I love the art. Definitely reminds me of like a Godzilla kaiju. Might just put it in the deck just because of that. But we do have this new Archaludon, 180 HP for 3 Metal Energy Coated Attack. It does 120 damage. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon can't be damaged by attacks from your opponent's basic Pokemon. This could be pretty relevant in a lot of meta leagues, I guess. I mean, Psychic has a huge, big basic deck. I'm thinking about Turbo Blaze Dragons is nothing but basic Pokemon. I mean, this could really stop a lot of those archetypes, but it's only doing 120 damage for 3 energy, and if you're facing an evolving deck, I don't know how much it's going to help you. I personally like the one with the Metal Bridge ability that gives your Metal Pokemon free retreat if they have a Metal Energy attached, but this is also one to consider. Moving on to items, we have this Jumbo Ice Cream. Heal 80 damage from your active Pokemon that has 3 or more energies attached. I'm looking right at you, Wailord. You're going to need more than 3 energies attached to even attack. This is going to be an inclusion in the whale decks, no doubt. As if Psychic needed any more help, they're getting Wonder Patch. Attach a basic Psychic energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. This is Dark Patch, but for Psychic. And with Psychic having so many different archetypes between Spread and Lost Zone and big basics and evolving decks, Psychic officially has it all. We also have a card like Heat Burner. You must discard 1 basic fire energy from your hand in order to use this card. Choose a Pokemon tool, special energy, or stadium card your opponent has in play and discard it. This will probably mostly be seen in fire, but like I said, fire support has such good cards that types like colorless play basic fire energy just to utilize cards like Mela. So I can totally see a lot of not just fire types, but other types using this Heat Burner because they play fire energy in their deck. Good way to just completely come out of nowhere and disrupt your opponent. Moving on to tools, we have Punk Helmet. If the dark Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and damaged by attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 4 damage counters on that attacking Pokemon. I can totally see this being in, like a status condition dark type deck. Just another way to get some more damage counters put onto your opponent while also confusing them or poisoning them. That stuff can add up really quick. There's also Sacred Charm. I don't know how much this will even see play, but the card states the Pokemon this card is attached to takes 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have any abilities. Abilities are quite popular in Gym Leader Challenge format, but I don't see this seeing a ton of play when there's other cards that do this without that condition of needing to have the ability. Moving on to stadiums, Battle Coliseum. Prevent all damage counters from being placed on bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, by the effects of the attacks or abilities used by the opponent's Pokemon. I feel like this really hits Psychic more than any other type, just because Psychic covers so many different archetypes. It completely just shuts down Lost Zone, completely shuts down Monkey Dory, Giratina, Dusknoir. But is it worth playing in your deck? Is it worth that slot? You may or may not go up against those typings. Really depends on your local meta. I personally won't be playing this, but if you're in a meta where there's a ton of spread being played, you might want to consider this stadium. However, playing these passive stadiums like this puts the ball in your opponent's court, and it doesn't take effect until your opponent attacks, so it gives them the chance to bump it before it even gets really used. Alright, so we're moving on to supporters. The Fire Breather. Search your deck for up to 7 basic fire energy cards and put them into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. What the hell are you going to use 7 fire energies for? Well, you have Embor. That's basically your fire rain dance ability. However, it's a stage 2. Good luck getting that up in this current format. You have cards like Salazzle that once during your turn you may discard a fire energy from your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. But it also goes with cards like Heat Burner, where you have to discard a fire. Fiery Torch, we also have to discard a fire, but you get to draw 2 cards. Stadiums like Scorched Earth, where you have to discard a fire, draw 2 cards. You know, something like Kindler, where you have to discard a fire. You get to look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put up to 2 of them into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. There's clearly a pattern of discarding basic fire energy from your hand from Pokemon in the fire archetype. And I feel like that is probably what's holding it back. Grimsley's Move. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose a dark Pokemon you find there and put it onto your bench. Shuffle the other cards face down and put them on the bottom of your deck. You can't play this card on your first turn. Why can't you play this card on your first turn? Going second? Because it gives you a chance to put these stage 2s into play. Imagine getting this Dark Tyranitar into play, 190 HP. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand. You know, for 2 energy, you're doing 150 damage and discarding cards from the top of your opponent's deck. I mean, you have like Hydreigon, that is your dark energy rain dancer. You have this Galarian Obstagoon that can prevent basic Pokemon from attacking it. And the Nidoqueen, Nidoking dark decks. So this basically just lets you get any dark Pokemon into play. I mean, heck, you could even play this with Umbreon. You can have an Umbreon in your deck because you can't, no one really plays evolutions in there because it's such a pain to not have an Eevee to play. But you could do this with Umbreon if you wanted to. There's just so many stage 1 and stage 2 dark Pokemon that don't get to see the light of play, and this could be a chance to turn that around. But are you honestly playing your dark type deck with a bunch of stage 2 Pokemon that you can't evolve? And the supporter that is hitting near and dear to my heart is Dawn. Search your deck for a basic, a stage 1 evolution and a stage 2 evolution, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Mine instantly went to Forest of Vitality that lets you evolve your grass Pokemon basically as soon as you want, as long as it's not turn 1. So if you have the basic, the stage 1 and the stage 2 in your hand, you can basically play them all down and just evolve the same turn that they get put into play. So this Dawn would be a perfect way to pull out the whole Torterra line, the whole Meganium line, and even like cards like this Caterpie and Metapod that have the adaptive evolution ability that basically is the Forest of Vitality. Even without the Forest of Vitality, You could pull the whole family out with Dawn and just be swinging for one energy. And with cards like the Grotto with the sun-drenched ability, you might not even need to pull them all from the same family. I mean, you could get a basic out and like, oh, hey, I need the stage 1 for this guy, or I need the stage 2 for this one. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same family. You could just spread that out throughout your board. How often will you be able to team this up with Force of Vitality? We'll have to wait and see, but I will be making room in my grass deck for Dawn. Alright, so that is the end of the review. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know your thoughts. Were there any cards I missed from the Phantasmal Flames set that should be looked at in the GLC format? And if you liked this video and what I do here at Nerds Being Geeks, go ahead and give the channel a subscribe. Any support is very much appreciated. I can't stress that enough. So I appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys later.